It is not yet morning. The sky over the garden is still the gray of things that have not decided to be anything yet. And a woman is standing outside a tomb, and she is weeping. She has been weeping for some time. The kind of weeping that has stopped being a storm and become a weather, settled in with nowhere to go. The tomb in front of her is open. The great stone that should be sealing it has been rolled back, and the dark mouth of it is empty. And that, the emptiness, is not a comfort to her. It is the last cruelty in a week that has had nothing else in it. They have killed him, and now she believes someone has taken even his body. There is a man near her in the half-light. She does not look at him closely. She assumes he is the gardener. Who else would be here at this hour, in this place? He asks her gently why she is crying, and then he says one word. He says her name. Mary. Hold there. Hold on, the woman in the garden, and the voice that knew her name. Because the whole of this story lives in the distance between who the world said this woman was and who that voice knew her to be. For most of the last 2,000 years, the church remembered Mary Magdalene wrongly. The man at the tomb did not. Of every person he could have appeared to first, why did the risen Jesus come before anyone else on earth to her? To answer that, we have to take her back from the legend and let the Gospels hand us the real woman. Start with her name. She is called Mary, one of the most common names a Jewish woman could carry in the 1st century. And so the Gospels do what you do with a common name. They attach her to a place. Mary of Magdala. Mary Magdalene. Magdala was a real town, and not a poor or a shameful one. It sat on the western shore of the Sea of Galilee, a working lakeside town that lived on the water. Boats, nets, the trade in fish carried inland and salted for the long journey. To be from Magdala was to be from somewhere ordinary and busy and alive. Now, here is the thing most of us think we know about Mary Magdalene, and it is worth saying plainly, and once. Most people, asked who she was, will tell you she was a prostitute. A reformed one. The fallen woman who was forgiven. The Gospels never say that, not once. There is no verse in any of the 4 that calls Mary Magdalene a prostitute, or names her as a woman of the streets, or attaches that sin to her at all. What happened is this. Centuries after her death, in the Western Church, 3 different women in the Gospels were slowly blurred into one. There was Mary Magdalene. There was an unnamed woman in the 7th chapter of Luke, who had lived a sinful life and washed Jesus' feet with her tears. And there was Mary of Bethany, the sister of Martha and Lazarus. 3 separate women, and over the centuries, in sermons and in paintings, they were folded together into a single famous figure, and the sin of one was quietly laid onto the name of another. The Eastern Church never made that merger. The Western Church did, and it held for a very long time, and it is why you have likely always believed something about Mary Magdalene that the Bible never told you. So set the legend down. We are not here to win an argument against old sermons. We are here to give a real woman her real story back. Because the truth, when you let the text simply say it, is not smaller than the legend. It is far larger. Here is the one hard fact the Gospel of Luke gives us about her past. It gives it in a single line, almost in passing, as it lists the women who traveled with Jesus. Mary, who was called Magdalene, it says, from whom 7 demons had gone out. 7 demons. We should not rush past that, and we should not dress it up, and we should not quietly translate it into something more comfortable. Luke says demons, and he says 7 of them, and we are not going to pretend he said something else. What that line tells you is the sheer scale of what had hold of her. 7 is a number of completeness, of fullness. This was not a woman who had been through a hard season. This was a woman who, by the plain sense of the text, had been wholly overrun, her mind, her body, her days and her nights, by something dark and total, something she could not for one moment have fought off on her own. Picture that life as gently as the picture allows. The isolation of it, the exhaustion of it. A person no one knew how to help, and most people had long since stopped trying to be near. And then she met Jesus. The Gospels do not give us the scene. They do not linger on it. They simply tell us the result, and the result is the whole of it. The 7 demons went out. Whatever had ruled her no longer. He spoke, and the thing that had owned her let go. And for the first time in who knows how long, Mary of Magdala was simply, fully herself. Now think about what a person does after that. She could have gone home, healed, freed, handed back her own life. She could simply have returned to Magdala and the lake and lived. No one would have asked a thing more of her. That would have been a complete and a happy story. She did not go home. She followed him. Luke tells us she became one of a group of women who traveled with Jesus and the 12, and that these women supported the ministry out of their own resources. They were not onlookers. They were part of the engine of the thing, the food, the provision, the practical, unglamorous work that lets a traveling teacher and his followers stay on the road. That was, in part, these women. And Mary's name is the first one on the list. So that is who she actually was before this story turns. Not the figure from the old paintings. A woman who had been to the very bottom of human helplessness and had been lifted the whole way out of it by Jesus of Nazareth, and who had then looked at the quiet life she could have gone back to and chosen instead to give it to him. Which means that when the darkness came back into this story, and it was about to, it would not find Mary Magdalene at a safe distance. It would find her exactly where she had decided long before that she would always be, near him. For the months of his ministry, that is where she stayed, not on the edge of the crowds, watching him teach, watching him heal. The woman who knew, better than almost anyone on that road, exactly what he was able to lift off a person because she had felt that weight leave her own life. And then, the road turned toward Jerusalem. You can feel the mood of the Gospels change as it does. Jesus begins to speak, plainly and then more plainly, of what is waiting for him in the city. And the women are still there. Mary is still there. They follow him up into the crowded, watchful tension of the Passover, near enough to him still that when it finally breaks, they will see all of it. It breaks at night, in a garden, with torches and a kiss and soldiers. The men who had followed him for 3 years scatter into the dark, and the long, terrible day begins. By the next morning, it is, in every way that matters, already over. Through the night, Jesus has been moved from one hearing to the next. The high priest, the council, the Roman governor. By morning, the sentence has been given, and a man who, days before, had been welcomed into Jerusalem by a crowd waving branches is led back out of it under a Roman cross. We are going to walk the next part slowly, and we are not going to look away from it, because Mary did not. The place was called Golgotha, the place of the skull, a low rise outside the city wall where Rome did its public killing, where a cross could be seen from the road so that everyone passing would learn the lesson Rome wanted taught. There, between 2 others, they crucified him. The Gospels are restrained about the hours that followed, and so will we. Crucifixion does not need to be described to be understood. It was the most deliberately cruel death the ancient world had devised, slow and shaming and public, on purpose. The sky over Jerusalem went dark in the middle of the day, and the man on the middle cross was dying. Now, where was everyone? The Gospels are honest about this, and their honesty is not a weapon. It is just the truth. Most of the men who had walked with Jesus for 3 years were not there. Fear had scattered them, and fear is a powerful and a deeply human thing, and this is not the place to stand over them and sneer. One of them, Peter, has a whole episode of his own, and it is an episode about being forgiven. But the Gospels are equally careful to tell us who was there. John names them. Standing near the cross of Jesus, he writes, were his mother and his mother's sister, and Mary the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. She was there. The woman from Magdala stood within sight of that cross and would not leave it. Think about what that asked of her. It asked her to watch, to stand in the one place on earth she would least have chosen to be, and keep her eyes on the face of the man who had given her back her life, while that life was tortured out of him. There was nothing she could do. She could not save him. She could not ease it. She could not, even from where the soldiers allowed her to stand, reach him. She could only stay and witness and refuse, by the plain fact of her presence, to let him die unloved and unattended. She stayed for the same reason she had followed in the first place. She knew exactly what he had done for her, and a love that knows what it owes does not leave. And then, in the middle of the afternoon, it ended. The Gospel of John records his final word from the cross. It is finished, and he was gone. They took the body down. A man named Joseph, from a town called Arimathea, had asked the Roman governor for it and was granted it. And there was a new tomb, cut into the rock in a garden near that dreadful hill. They carried him there. And the Gospels make a point of telling us, more than once, that the women were watching. Mary Magdalene saw where they laid him. She saw the body carried in. She saw the great stone rolled across the mouth of the tomb and heard it grind into its place, and stood there as a sealed stone became the last thing between her and the man she loved. And then there was nothing left to do, and that, it turns out, is its own particular agony. Because the next day was the Sabbath, the holy day of rest, on which the law allowed no work, and preparing a body properly for burial was work. So Mary could not even tend to him. The one last act of love still available to her, the spices, the washing, the wrapping, the small dignified things the living do for the dead, even that had to wait. An entire day had to be got through first. A whole day of forced, empty stillness, with grief and nothing whatever to do with it. She got through it. We are not told how. And the moment that long Sabbath was over, before the next day had properly begun, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene gathered the spices she had made ready and went out into the dark to do the last thing love could still do. She went to the tomb. The walk to that tomb in the dark must have been the heaviest walk of her life. There was no hope in it. Understand that clearly, because it is the thing that makes everything which follows land the way it should. Mary was not walking to the tomb that morning because some part of her expected good news. She was walking there to care for a dead body. The spices in her arms were burial spices. Her whole plan was to finish grieving him properly. The most she hoped for from that morning was the cold comfort of doing the last thing right. And then she reached the garden, and the tomb came into view. And the great stone, the stone she had watched be rolled into place, was not in its place. It was rolled away. The tomb was open. And Mary did not, in that moment, think resurrection. Why would she? Nobody thinks resurrection. What she thought was the obvious, sickening thought. Someone has been here. They have broken in. They have not even left him the dignity of the grave. They have taken the body. So she turned and she ran back toward the city, back to the few people who might help. And she found Simon Peter and the disciple John, and she told them in whatever broken words grief and running allow. They have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we don't know where they have put him. And here the two men do something the Gospels record plainly, and that we will record plainly too. They ran. Peter and John ran to the tomb. Whatever fear had done to them across the terrible weekend, when Mary's words reached them, they got up and ran. John, the younger, reached it first and stooped and looked in and saw the linen cloths lying there. Peter, being Peter, went straight inside and saw the same thing, an empty grave, the wrappings of a body with no body in them. The cloth that had been around his head folded by itself in a place apart. They saw it. They did not yet understand it, and, the Gospel says, they went back to their own homes, and that left Mary. She had followed the men back to the tomb, and now the men were gone, and she was alone in that garden in the early light, standing outside the open grave, and she was weeping. We began this whole story here, and now we have caught up to it, and we can feel the full weight of where she was. This was, for Mary Magdalene, the lowest moment of the lowest week of her life. They had killed him, and now even the tomb was empty. Even the body was gone. Even grief had been robbed of the one thing it still had to hold. Weeping, she bent down to look into the tomb herself. Perhaps simply because it was the last place on earth he had been, and the tomb was not empty. There were two of them, in white, seated, one where his head had lain, one where his feet had been. Angels, though Mary, in the depth of where she was, does not even seem to register them as something to fear. They ask her a question, the same gentle question she is about to be asked again. "Woman, why are you weeping?" And Mary gives her answer, the only answer she has, the sentence she has been living inside since the cross. "No, because they have taken away my Lord, and I don't know where they have laid him." And then she turns around. We are not told what made her turn. A sound, a sense, the simple human need not to have her back to the open garden, but she turns, and there is a man standing there. She does not know him. Hold on to that, because it is one of the most quietly astonishing things in all the Gospels. Mary Magdalene, who had followed this man for years, who had stood close enough to watch him die, looks straight at the risen Jesus and does not recognize him. She thinks he is the gardener. Grief can do that. Grief narrows the whole world down to the size of its own wound, and she was not looking for a living man. She was looking for a dead one. He asks her the question the angels asked, "Woman, why are you weeping? Who are you looking for?" And Mary, still inside her one idea, still certain that the only thing this morning can possibly be about is a missing body, answers the man she takes for the gardener. "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have laid him, and I will take him away." I will take him away. Hear what is underneath that. She is offering, this grieving, exhausted woman, to personally carry the dead body of a grown man, herself, alone, to wherever it needs to go if only someone will tell her where he is. There is no limit on her love in that sentence. There is only the fact that all of it is pointed, with everything it has, at a grave. And the man says one word. He says, "Mary." That is all. Not a sermon, not a proof, not "behold" or "fear not," or any of the great and ringing words. Her name, spoken the way only one person had ever spoken it. The voice that had once, in another life, called 7 demons out of her and given her back to herself. And Mary knew that voice. Everything turned on the single word. She had looked straight at his face and not known him. She heard her own name, and she knew everything at once. She turns, fully now, all the way to him, and out of her comes the answer of her whole heart, in her own language, the word a student gives a beloved teacher. Rabboni, teacher, my teacher. And she reaches for him. Of course she reaches for him. She had watched him die. She had stood at his sealed tomb. The most natural movement in the human body is to take hold of what you were certain you had lost. And here, Jesus says something to her that has puzzled gentle readers for a long time, and we should not skip it because it matters. He says, "Don't hold me, for I haven't yet ascended to my Father." It can sound, at first, like a rebuff. It is the opposite of a rebuff. He is not pushing her away. He is telling her that the thing she wants, to take hold of him and keep him, to have the old days back exactly as they were, the teacher on the roads of Galilee and the women following behind. That is not what is happening now. Something larger is. He is going to the Father. The story is not rewinding to what it was. It is opening into what it is about to become. She cannot keep him here in this garden to herself, and the reason she cannot is the best reason imaginable. He is about to belong, fully and forever, to everyone. And then he gives her something to do. "Go," he tells her, "to my brothers, and tell them." Go and tell them. And just like that, the weeping woman in the garden has been given a commission. She came to that garden to care for a dead body. She is leaving it as the first person ever sent to announce that the body is not dead at all. So Mary runs again. She had run once already that morning. Run from the tomb in the dark. Run in fear. Run carrying the worst news she had. Now she runs the other way, with the other news, the only news, the news the entire Christian faith has stood on ever since. She goes to the disciples, and the gospel gives us her words, and they are simple, and they are the first time these words are ever spoken by a human being. "I have seen the Lord." Stop at the end and look at what God has done here, because it is not an accident, and it is not a small thing, and it is the real point of this episode. The resurrection of Jesus is the center of the Christian faith. Everything in it stands or falls on that one morning. And when God chose the first eyes that would see the risen Christ, and the first voice that would carry the news, he did not choose an emperor or a high priest, or even one of the 12. He chose Mary Magdalene. He chose a woman in a world where a woman's testimony was given little weight, where her word would not have counted for much in any court. And he chose this particular woman, not a spotless one, not an obvious one, but a rescued one. A woman who had once been so far gone that it took 7 demons cast out to give her back to herself. That is not God lowering a standard. That is God showing you, in the very first messenger, what the message is. The good news of the resurrection was always going to be news for the overlooked, the written off, the ones the world had a ready label for. So of course its first preacher was one of them. Mary Magdalene, running that news to the apostles, is the whole gospel, compressed into one woman in a garden, the rescued, carrying the word of the rescuer. And notice what her own response to all of it actually was. It was not, in the end, to be proven right. Yes, this is a vindication. The woman the world would go on to misremember was, on the morning that mattered most, the one the risen Christ trusted first. But Mary does not stand in that garden savoring it. She reaches for his feet, and then she runs to tell everyone she can find. The point was never that Mary was right. The point was always, only him. Which brings the story in the end to you, because you may know something of what it is to be Mary Magdalene, not the legend, the real one. You may know what it is to be reduced to a single chapter of your life by people who never read the rest of the book, to be a rumor in other people's mouths, to carry a label you did not choose and cannot seem to set down, to suspect that whoever the world thinks you are, no one, not really, has ever seen the actual you. Hear this then from the garden. The God of this story is not the God of the label. He did not call Mary by her reputation. He did not call her by her worst season, or by the 7 things that had once owned her, or by the name the later centuries would wrongly hang on her. He stood in front of her and said one word, and the word was her own name, spoken by someone who had known her, really known her, all along. And he had been nearer to her the whole time than she knew. She had a living Lord standing a few feet away and mistook him for the gardener, because grief had told her what she was and was not allowed to hope for. So this is the question the episode will leave with you, and it leaves it open, the way the tomb was left open. The voice that knew Mary's name knows yours. He may be a great deal nearer than you have let yourself believe. If he spoke your name right now, not your reputation, not your record, your name, would you know his voice?